Okay, so this was meant to be a follow-up presentation from our June presentation, and unfortunately, in our June presentation, we weren't able to record everything. So what I want to do today is rehash on what we talked about in June, and just basically about the water quality improvement grants that are out there, and talk about and actually use the second half to talk about how you can work with your service providers to around the project planning that takes place for water quality improvement. So the agricultural business team engages with farm, forest, and maple enterprises using valuable planning and educational resources to promote a strong agricultural economy. Our experienced team delivers one-on-one, small group, and online learning opportunities that enhance decision-making and viability. Our programs and research provide direction for key stakeholders to advance initiatives that improve business outcomes in a dynamic agricultural sector. The Clean Water Initiative program is a multi-agency collaboration that funds, tracks, and reports on priority projects to restore Vermont's waters. A main focus of the CWIP program is to inform farms about the required agricultural practices that were started in 2016. The required agricultural practices are standards to which all types of farms must be managed to reduce the impact of agricultural activities to water quality. Some apply to all farms, and some of which are specific to certain sizes of operation or to certain environmental factors. These practices are intended to improve the quality of Vermont waters by reducing and eliminating cropland erosion, sediment losses, and nutrient losses. The goals for the RAPs are to establish nutrient, manure, and waste storage standards, make recommendations for soil health, and establish requirements for vegetated buffer zones and livestock exclusion from surface water. These practices also establish standards for nutrient management planning and soil conservation. When we're working with farmers, we want them to consider what type of operation that they have on their farm, which is basically based upon the size of the farms. There are different RAPs for different sizes of farms. So we highly encourage you to go to the Agency of Agriculture's website. We'll send this link along with a follow-up email. But yeah, find out what farm you are classified as and the according required agricultural practices that go along with those sizes of farms. Some examples of water quality improvements that are done on farms are nutrient management planning. That's required for all certified small farm operations, medium-sized farm operations, and large farm operations. Also, soil sampling. That's recommended to be done on all farms every 5 years. Runoff and collection systems management for surface or groundwater. Soil health and erosion control requirements. Manure, nutrient storage and application. Buffer zones. Livestock exclusion, and farm structures. There are a variety of assistance programs throughout the state. And we will share these links with you, and we'll also explain how we use these programs in the planning process in a little bit. But yeah, a variety of entities throughout the state do provide assistance for these improvements on the farms. We won't go over each one here, but we will explain a few in our examples area. But we highly recommend that you check out all of these programs and find out if they fit your needs for your farms. For UVM Extension, the agricultural business team, what we do is we're available to work with dairy and livestock, as well as non-dairy farm owners to assess and plan for business changes to meet water quality goals. Farm owners can work one-on-one with a business educator to evaluate the feasibility and impact of changes facing the farm and the business. Typical topics for our business support include cash flow and budget analysis, current business situation analysis, assessing the adoption of new practices and new investments, short and long-term strategic planning, farm transfer or farm exit planning, and referrals to other in-depth planning programs when that is necessary. Yeah, like I said, we're going to send out some more useful links to everybody via email. And now moving into what we do on the farm, it's really important that what normally happens is someone reaches out to us by email or phone or by recommendation. And the first step that we always want to do is we want to create or have an in-person meeting on the farm. It just really helps just to get us familiar with what's going on the farm. And it really just helps with us with kicking off everything. And then after we get on the farm and we realize what the possibilities are for the water quality improvement, we want to make sure that we do an assessment of the farm water quality needs. And this usually comes from the farmer. Almost all farmers already know what they need to do on a farm, but it's also important to assess all potential agronomic practices, grazing practices, infrastructure needs, and financial factors that are involved with in the water quality needs. A third step that we take is we assess the farm business viability. This is an extensive assessment of the farm's ability to meet its economic needs. This is really important. It's really crucial to understand the feasibility of undertaking a water quality improvement project on the farm. And so a few things that we look at are, who are the current owners and operators of the farm? We want to answer if the farm is in financial distress or in danger of foreclosure. We also want to know how long the farm intends to stay in business into the future. And at this point, if it's necessary, we like to look into historical financial statements of the farm just to see, to identify if there are any trends going on the farm. After that, these are all, basically, I also want to point out that these are all steps that we take that are done at different times. We don't do all of this at one time. We know that farmers are very busy. So these steps are usually broken up over a period of time. So moving on, we love to do basically, a second visit where we're doing a visual inspection of the property in order to basically fully understand the situation on the farm. This visual inspection allows us to really get down to the exact needs. That might also mean, or at this point, we also might bring in some technical, some people that are technical specialists like engineers or something like that, if that's necessary. And then we move on to determine all of the resources and financial requirements that are going to be necessary to implement this project. So once we've identified what potentially we could be doing to improve water quality practices on the farms, we need to list out all the required resources for those improvements, and we need to detail them along with all of the costs that are necessary to implement these improvements. And then at this point, once we get an understanding of kind of the financial outlook of this project, we need to move into reviewing the potential funding sources. I shared a list of those potential funding sources earlier, and we'll send out an updated list of that via email to everybody. But sources are constantly changing on a state and federal level. But once we get a detailed list of all the resources and the costs that we need for the improvements on the farm, we work with the business, we work with the farm to review basically the current landscape of what would be applicable to this project. And this decision-making process does take a little bit of time, because this is where we have to come to an agreement with the farmer on whatever makes them feel comfortable about moving forward financially. So after that, once we look at the sources, we start collaborating with the farm on financial forecasting. Each potential improvement and the financial requirements must be assessed and agreed upon with the farmer. And it's important for us as a business advisor to review the implications of the farm's future cash flow and the financial well-being of the farm when they undertake this project. So once that's all considered, we basically come up with an action like that. We're gonna make some form of decision. Either we're gonna go through with something or we're not, or we need to tackle a few more things in order to get this project going. But so right here, at this point, we make a decision on what actions need to be taken in order to follow through with the project, or maybe in some cases, we can put off the project for a period of time, but we have to make a decision at this point. And if we decide to move forward with the project, the next step is we sit down and detail every single key stakeholder that is going to be involved with this project. We want to have contact information. We want to make sure that engineers, or who knows, engineers, bankers, and everybody, all the key stakeholders are at the table with us, so we can understand and facilitate communication amongst everybody. And at that point, we put together an implementation timeline. This is something that must be decided upon with the feedback of all the stakeholders involved, and also so that we can pretty much delegate responsibility to people for all what they are going to be contributing to this project. And then ultimately, we like to set up a form of monitoring and evaluation of this project to make sure that everybody is on the same page on what needs to be done through the implementation of this project. And ultimately, what we want to do is make sure that we're evaluating and making sure that the farmer is supported on this decision. Right now, I mean, we kind of ran through that really quickly, but we can open it up for some questions. But yeah, that was a real quick run through of everything here.
Good job, Zach. This is Tony Kitsos. I work with Zach on the water quality project, the CWIP project. Do a variety of other things. And I think one of the, Zach, one of the last slides you talked about was us coming out to the farm and just kind of taking a look around to see what it is that we typically see. Interesting that I was on a farm earlier this week and we visited about this very topic. They've been out of dairy farming for probably the last 6 years or so, and have rented their farm to some area farmers, and I've sort of lay dormant for a little while. And he called me up and said, "Gee, what do I need to do about my farm? Somebody wants to rent my dairy, and they're going to have 49 cows," and the whole list of things that got us very close to whether they were a SFO, small farm operation, or a certified small farm operation. And like Zach said, the rules are a little bit different. But essentially what we did was we spent the afternoon taking a look at the entire farmstead to see if it could be farmed tomorrow the way it was farmed 6 years ago. And we came to the conclusion that the answer was not without a lot of financial input. So we're now sitting down to the task of figuring out just what that input has got to be and determine whether or not this farmer, who is really only going to rent the property, is willing to put the investment in to make it a decent rental piece. We don't know the answer to that right now, because part of what winds up happening is once you start looking at these things, you do tend to open up a can of worms that you hadn't anticipated before. And, you know, it was a good choice by this farmer, rather than to just jump right out there and say, yeah, I want to, I want to rent this farm to you. He told this prospective renter to, let's take a step back and see what we need to do first before I make a commitment to you that I won't be able to keep. So, you know, we had a pretty good session. I've got a couple of specialists coming out to the farm to take a look at a few things. And then we're going to engage with the Agency of Agriculture to see just where they would like the farmstead to be, to make it good for this prospective renter. It's just an example of what I ran into last week with this project, and you know how important that is. I just received an email before this webinar began, and it's about Horizon thinking of checking out of the Northeast, and that may open up a pretty interesting can of worms with farmers on farms maybe needing to move because whoever their new milk hauler is may not want to go down that particular road. They might want some consolidation in the industry, and some things might wind up changing here in the coming year. So, you know, I see this as being a pretty good program, pretty good project to help somebody take a look and see what's going on their operation or potential operation down the road if some farmers have to move because of the decision by Horizon. So that was my add in to that, Zach.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. And also just like a little bit of what, you know, just what's going on from our service provider perspective on water quality improvements on farms. It seemed that when we first started doing this, it seemed like all the farms that reached out, farmers were reaching out to us saying they knew exactly like that they had to address something. And now what we're finding is, as we're moving kind of, we're not moving away from dairy, but we're trying to make sure that all farms can, you know, understand that our planning support is available for them, and RAPs are applicable to all farms in Vermont. And what I've noticed lately is I get a lot of inquiries from farms that are, you know, particularly non-dairy, about what they can do to improve water quality planning on their farm. And you know, I get a lot of people that are interested in the manure side. The erosion side is a very big deal too. That I get a lot of inquiries about, and we're more than happy. I mean, we understand that all farms are very unique, especially with the smaller farms as well. And so we definitely highly encourage people to reach out to us, and you know, a phone call and a quick visit is definitely worth it too. I've seen a lot of farms that have, you know, had a few questions that they were just a little unsure about. And a quick visit, and just with a quick visit, we were able to identify some needs on the farm, and that's led to some good success with some farmers. But I understand that we have a small audience right now. I don't know if we have any questions in regards to our in regards to this topic from the audience, but perhaps sending this video out to everybody will give everybody a chance to just process what we offer, and then generate some questions in the future.
Zach, just one quick question. I know this is being recorded and it's going to be posted. Could you just tell us where we could find it, and how Danny and Kevin might send it out to folks that they know and say, hey, take a look at this, see if it might be useful to you?
Yeah, I'm going to be putting it up on put the presentation up on our YouTube page, but then I'm going to put together a pretty extensive email with links to the presentation, and also links to all of the links that I cited in the presentation.
And that'll go out to all those who did sign up?
Yes. Yeah.
And for those who didn't sign up too, there's, like I said, anybody can sort of forward a link to the YouTube so they can see what's going on, and then can get at our website to sign up for an inquiry and see what's going on.
Yep, and I'll make sure that link to our inquiry is very prominent, so people can understand that that's all it takes to get into contact with us.
and functional.
Yeah. All right, well, that's that. I will thank you very much for your attendance and hopefully speak soon.
Thank you, Zach.
Yep, thanks, guys.